Thank you. This involves my dissertation work. I finished a couple years at University of Louisville, so I'm no longer a student, but this is the last chapter that's yet to be published. So we often understand different water snake species and how they coexist in wetland habitats. Basically, a lot of the research has indicated they partition their dietary resources so they can coexist. However, some recent work has indicated that they may be able to coexist in the absence of resource partitioning because of large seasonal pulses of amphibians, whether it be anurans or some salamanders. So to address these questions, we investigated seasonal impacts along with other factors affecting the diets of three sympatric water snake species: plain-bellied, diamondback, northern at the Sloughs Wildlife Management Area, and Henderson Western Kentucky, Henderson County. These areas are primarily managed for wintering waterfowl. I'm calling plain-bellied, in our area that's a copperbelly, and northern, our subspecies is the midland. So snakes were captured by a variety of methods, and we measured snout vent length, determined mass, determined sex, marked individuals, pit tagging, and clipping the scales, and investigating gut contents by manual palpation, regurgitation. We also sampled aquatic and terrestrial prey to look at prey availability. And on that picture, there's a western lesser siren, which is pretty neat to see and catch some of those out there. So for data analysis, we were interested in seasonal effects along with other factors. So we determined 3 seasons based on anuran capture rates. So from April to about the end of May, we had high levels of anurans and metamorphs, tadpole, anurans and metamorphs. Then summer, high levels of froglets and adults. Then late summer, when those numbers dropped off in our traps. So we also used a model comparison approach with logistic regression, AIC, to look at factors affecting the probability of the presence of particular diet items, and also a proportional similarity index to look at overlap among seasons. So we identified the prey, but we, for the analysis more at the family and the larger level for this work. So there's a lot on this slide, but I have one results slide. So we found dietary differences resulting from water snake species, sex, snake size, and season. So if you look at the graph on the left, on the y-axis, the estimated probability in the diet, and in a sense, you've got 3 different columns. So on the left, plain bellies, no surprise, had more frogs that were found in their diet than fish. Then northern and diamondbacks, more fish compared to frogs. But looking at the seasonal, the graph on the right is really interesting. So the graph, or actually 3 graphs there on the right, with the y-axis indicating the estimated probability in diet, and on the x-axis being season, but broken into Julian date. Looking at each species pair was different according to an estimated probability in the diet. So if you look at the top graph, that is fish, then there was higher overlap between the diamondback and northern water snakes, and that progressed all the way to the end of the season. In the middle graph, there's higher overlap between diamondback and diamondback and plain-bellied water snakes feeding on tadpole metamorph anurans, then decreasing along with their availability. And look at the one at the bottom, it was northern and plain-bellied. The one line that goes up to the right is the plain-bellied water snake, but was interesting, the northern water snake fed during when we had that larger pulse, which was the middle season. So each snake pair kind of went through in different of the seasons, and you can see those same arrows and take that to the graph down at the lower left. That's the proportional similarity indices. So 0 is no diet overlap, 1 is entire diet overlap, and we have 3 snakes and 3 seasons. And what was really interesting, each different pair had higher overlap in different seasons. So in a sense, one of the 3 water snakes had a lower competition during that period of time for a particular season. So in spring, plain bellies and diamondbacks had higher dietary overlap than early summer, plain bellies in northern, and diamondback and northern water snakes in the late summer season. So overall, we determined that water snake coexistence and dietary resource utilization of wetland ecosystems are complicated by various factors. A lot of the research has indicated that, okay, they partition their dietary resources, but we got to incorporate habitat, the amount of prey, the range of these species. But when you have water snakes together, there's going to be general species differences that we found. There's differences in snake sex and diet and snake size, which I didn't talk about for this part of the this research. But the main part, looking at these seasonal factors, and it was really interesting how season affected these snakes, but each snake responded differently according to the season. So plain bellies eat much more anurans, and the other two are more fish eaters. But in early spring, the tadpoles and were important for the plain bellies and the diamondbacks. So there's a multitude of factors, and we don't want to just kind of go with the dogma. It's always partitioning their dietary resources, but whether they're competing or not, that still needs to be kind of teased out. But there's a lot of things that affect this potential competition, allowing for the water snakes to exist. So that's my talk, and I appreciate